Hi everyone, I'm Tamara Jeffries of Grow and Thrive Wellness. How are you doing today? It's been a long time since I made a video, and it's odd that I'm making one today because it's been a hard day, but because it's been a hard day, I felt the need to make a video, if that makes any sense. You know, as a counselor and a coach, I'm often giving my clients tools to help manage and cope with life and stressors. And it's always interesting to me when I have to use those same tools myself. And today was one of those days. And that's why I wanted to make this video to talk to you about how important it is how you talk to yourself. Let me just give you some context. So this weekend has been a really emotional weekend for me, just in general, just in my personal life. It was just an emotional weekend. And then I found out that someone who was an acquaintance of mine who I recently spoke to died suddenly Saturday night. And I just spent most of Sunday just in shock and in tears because it's not that we were all that close, but when someone's life ends so suddenly, he was engaged, he had plans, and it's so tragic and just so heartbreaking. And so that happened. And then I had to prepare for a radio segment this morning, which was my first ever radio segment. And I was super nervous. I was so nervous, I was nauseous. And not only was that my first experience being on radio, but it was the first time that I ever sent out announcements to let people know that what I was doing. Because I've been doing podcasts and stuff, but I haven't been sending out notices letting people know the things that I've been doing. I've been kind of keeping things on the DL. And so sending out the announcements and posting everywhere, as I post on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, that I was doing this radio show opened up this whole can of vulnerability and feeling super exposed. And then, come this morning and I'm preparing for the radio segment and I get another dose of bad news. So by the time it was time to start the radio segment, I seriously just had to sit in prayer and just be like, God, help me, just help me. May your love and light and wisdom and peace flow through me, because right now I'm a bit all over the place. It was a whole lot to try to maintain composure and stay in my zone of expertise for this 15-minute segment that I was about to do. And so I did it, and the host was lovely, and it happened and it was done. But then I don't know if you've ever done a performance or felt, like you've been in front of many eyes. That level of exposure can bring about this kind of, I want to say, post-show shame, where you are just, picking apart every single thing you did and finding fault and all these things. And it can be a really heavy thing to deal with. And it can actually take a lot of the joy out of what just preceded that, which was a great exchange between people. So sitting with all that and all these other things that have just happened in the last 48 hours made today extremely stressful for me. And I found myself having to use my own somatic practices and movement and breath to mitigate these feelings of anxiety and dis-ease that were just percolating throughout the day. But finally, I just had to sit down and just kind of give myself a pep talk and just a soothing talk, as if I was talking to a very beloved friend. And this is where my coaching and my counseling comes in. This is how I tell my clients to speak to themselves. Speak to yourself as if you are a beloved friend. And, in today's radio segment, I realized with all that had happened, I wasn't at the top of my game. I did my best, but it wasn't my best. And to know that causes me a lot of distress because I have super high standards for myself. But I believe in doing your best. And if you can do your best and you always do your best, then you'll have no regrets in life. And so I know I did my best considering all of the circumstances. But in this moment of talking to myself in this loving way, I had to give myself some credit that I did this thing that was super scary for me, that was new to me, and yet I did it. And it's just a stepping stone. And these are things that we all experience in our journey, these small stepping stones that are moving us closer to where we want to be. And as I am creating my path in this world as a trauma expert, as a counselor and a coach, there will be these milestones. There will be these little steps that I will take in getting myself out there. So today was a radio segment. Next month, I'll speak at a summit. And, things will increase incrementally. I like to think as my nervous system can tolerate it, I will take one step further and one step further. And this is something that I also want to encourage you to think about in your journey. If it's just, starting a new job, or progressing in the job that you already have, or starting in a new relationship, whatever point of life that you're in, think of it as you're taking one step at a time in a way that your nervous system can handle it so you don't become overwhelmed. And even in those moments where, like today, the sensations and emotions that I was feeling were not pleasant, they're just not pleasant, you don't want to deal with them. But if we can learn to tolerate the discomfort, if we can just learn to be still with it, don't run from it, don't make it a bad thing, it just is a thing. We are human organisms and we have all of these feelings, and they're going to pass through us. If we can just let them pass through us, they will be on their way in time. We have to move with them, let them move through us, and knowing that they are going to move. That is the nature of emotion. It's going to move. And while we're in this moment of feeling these things we rather not feel, being mindful of how we're speaking to ourselves, being mindful of the fact that we can be our biggest enemy, we can be the hardest critic on ourselves, but we can also be our greatest cheerleader and our greatest support if we just change the language. So as I said in my own pep talk, it was like, okay, you took this one step today, you did your best, it's behind you, and now you'll move to the next step and the next step. And knowing that it scared you to do this and that you were so nervous and yet you still did it, that's an act of courage. When we commit acts that frighten us and we still do it anyway because we know it's the right thing to do, we know it's the thing that's going to move us forward, that's an act of courage. And we have to take a moment to honor that. Today, I did something that was, for me, courageous. Every day of our lives, we have some opportunity to do something that freaks us out, that scares us, that makes us super nervous. And we can just put on our positivity and put on our hope and our vision for the future and step into it and work through the fear, come out the other side and say, I did it. I did it. I gave it my all. I showed up and I did it. So I just want to leave this with you today, just the importance of how you speak to yourself. Speak to yourself always with loving kindness. Treat yourself as your most beloved friend. Say words of support and nurturance to yourself. And know that if you can, just give yourself the time to take a breath and be with whatever emotions you are feeling, whatever thoughts that might be flowing through your mind. If you can just let those things move with the breath and know that they will pass, you'll find yourself feeling much better on the other side of it. So that's it. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I will see you again real soon. Take care.